Hi everyone, welcome back or welcome to my channel. My name's Lizzie and today I have a sew and tell video for you. I made a sewing plans video not that long ago actually. I'm quite impressed at how recent my latest plans video was, and in that video, I'll put a link in the description below, I planned to make 4 garments. I've made 3 of them. I'll explain why I haven't made the 4th one yet, but to get stuck into it straight away, the first garment that I've made is this. I'm going to move to the side so I can put some pictures in too, but I'll also do some holding up. This is a Grainline Studio Scout tee. It's just a really simple pattern, just a basic t-shirt. It's designed for woven fabrics and it's just got a scoop neck and some little sleeves. Super easy and simple. Now this fabric is just gorgeous. It is a viscose linen that I bought last summer, I think, from Sew Me Sunshine, and it's great. This is the second garment that I've made. If you've seen some of my videos on my Instagram, you will know that I made this t-shirt as out of leftover fabric, basically, to go with my trousers that I made. These like culotte style cropped trousers. This is a hack of the New Look 6446 jumpsuits. This is just the trousers of that jumpsuit. And I made myself a co-ord. How cute is that, to be able to wear the cropped trousers with the t-shirt? I'll put some pictures of me wearing them. I mean, I'm just delighted. It's very bold, very over the top to wear an entire outfit of bright yellow with pink and orange flowers on. But you know, sometimes you've just got to go for it and be a bit extra and wear the bright colours you want to wear. Especially in the summer, especially on holiday, especially, yeah, when the sun's shining. Great outfit, I think anyway. And to tell you a bit about the sewing process with the Grainline Studio Scout tee, it was a really simple sew. The only trouble I had was with sizing. I made a size 2, but it turned out to be a bit big, and I kind of realised only after I'd cut it out. Basically the front pattern piece is quite a bit wider than the back pattern piece, and that's very logical because it gives space for your boobs. However, I'm very small chested, so I didn't really need as much extra fabric at the front of the t-shirt than the pattern allows for. So next time I'm going to take a couple of centimetres off the centre front and off the neckband as well. And I also took it up by a couple of centimetres because I didn't want it to be a really long t-shirt. I wanted it to sit a little bit shorter because then it would make my legs look a little bit longer, and I knew I'd be tucking it in anyway, and I'd like to have enough length to tuck things in but not so much length that it's like bulky and annoying to tuck in. But I have to say I was a bit lucky with it being a bit too big. I then washed it for the first time after wearing it for the first time, and it shrunk quite a lot. Now, I had already pre-washed my fabric, but this viscose, I don't know if you're going to be able to see very well on camera, but because it's viscose linen, it's got a little bit of, it's almost got a crepey texture to it actually. And essentially when you iron it, which I didn't really realise when I was sewing it, but as you iron it, you get rid of all those creases and the kind of crinkly effect of it, and fabric becomes a bit bigger basically. So in washing it, it then shrunk down again, and I'm just going to tell you, I am not an ironer. I don't like to iron things. Whenever I make something and I figure out that the fabric is then going to need ironing, I'm like, oh, why did you buy that fabric? Why did you make something out of that fabric? And I'm slowly learning, obviously, the different types of fabric that are and are not going to need ironing. But actually, in this instance, the fact that it shrinks when you wash it, it doesn't shrink every time you wash it, it just shrinks compared with when it's ironed. So the t-shirt now fits me really well in its new shrunken form. The trousers, unfortunately, it means they're not quite so loose and floaty as I had first had in mind, but luckily they do still fit around the waist, around the hips. There's just not quite so much extra space, which is a shame, but still works. So yeah, just be careful with this kind of crepey fabric, because when you iron it as you're making your garment, it may be bigger than it will be when it's fresh out the wash. The second thing that I made is a dress, and I am so proud of this make. It is the best, most well-fitting dress I've ever made, or garment I've ever made. and the fabric's really special. I'm just super pleased with it. It's this, it's on the hanger, it's a little bit crumpled, so I'm going to put pictures in. But this is a mashup of a pattern from a book called Famous Frocks, The Little Black Dress, and it's the Audrey bodice. So there's a pattern in there in this book inspired by Audrey Hepburn, and this is the bodice. And the skirt is a hack of the Vogue V9075 jumpsuit. Now, if any of you who are familiar with this pattern, it's fairly popular sort of on Instagram amongst the sewing community, is that it's got a skirt version and a jumpsuit version, like a dress and a jumpsuit. And I wanted to make the skirt version, but I realised that the skirt actually only is just a gathered skirt, which is great, fine, but the jumpsuit has these lovely pleats on the front, and I wanted that. I wanted the front and the back to look like the jumpsuit, but in a skirt. So I hacked the jumpsuit trousers to be a skirt. I've had a few people on Instagram request a tutorial on how I did that. It was really simple, so if any of you would also like to see just a simple tutorial on how I hacked the jumpsuit into a skirt, then let me know, because I'd be happy to film a tutorial. And to try and show you a little bit of a close-up, it's basically these pleats here are what I think give the pattern real kind of detail. Obviously they get a little bit hidden to an extent within this pattern, but that's the look I wanted to achieve, and I'm so pleased I did it. I also added an extra pleat just to give a bit more volume to the skirt. So that's what the pattern is, a mashup of the Audrey bodice and V9075. It's the jumpsuit hacked into a skirt. And the fabric is this gorgeous viscose satin from Fabric Godmother. I'm absolutely in love with it, and I lined it with some plain navy viscose from Minerva Crafts. And yeah, I had a bit of a palaver when I was sewing it, if I'm honest, but I think it was a real triumph because I decided to really make sure that this was a good garment that fit me well. So when I came up against a problem, I didn't just plow through it. Like, I stopped and really worked out, okay, how do I tackle this? How do I best make this work? How do I best make this fit? Because I really, really want to up my sewing game these days. I want to make garments that I really enjoy wearing and that fit me as well as possible. I still have a really long way to go in terms of learning to fit, but I've decided, I'm kind of trying to stick with this new ethos of really taking my time to get it right, as opposed to rushing to get a garment finished. My natural instinct, I'm a finisher. I get a huge amount of satisfaction from ticking something off the list, from finishing a project. But actually, I'm realising that if I want a wardrobe full of clothes that I love to wear and that I'm going to wear over and over again, hopefully for years to come, which is what I aspire to, very much so. I don't want a wardrobe full of fast fashion. Even if it's handmade, if you're only going to wear it once and get rid of it, it's still fast fashion. Yeah, I want a wardrobe full of good quality, well-fitting garments, so I slowed down and took my time. The first part of that was doing a small bust adjustment. So I made a toile and quite obviously realised that there was too much fabric on the bust. So I've got a fitting book that I got out the YouTube tutorials, and I did a small bust adjustment. This is what my toile looks like. So this is the front piece, and this is where your boobs go in the curvy bits there. And I basically learnt from various online tutorials and from the book I have. I'll put a link. It's called Perfect Photo Fitting or something, and it's got loads of like photographs of how to do things, which I find really useful. I'll link it below. And it taught me how to do a full bust adjustment, which basically, in super quick to tell you how you do it, you basically pinch out the fabric, which is the fabric that ended up being in between these two red lines, and you pinch, in fact, let me stand up and show you. So, ooh, I'm going to get a bit close here, so there's the bodice on me, but I've got a dress on underneath obviously, and I basically had to pinch out this fabric, pin it so that I could draw these lines, open it up again, and basically transfer these measurements onto my paper pattern and manipulate my paper pattern to take out that strip of fabric and then cut out from there, sort of trace off a new copy of my pattern piece basically. But essentially that's all you do, you just pinch out the spare fabric and make those adjustments on your pattern pieces. So that was very much worthwhile doing because it's meant I've got a really nice fit over the bust. What else did I do? I also added some length on the bodice, just a little bit because I knew that I've got quite a long body. I took some length off the straps, which was silly because I ended up having, no I didn't, I added length to the straps, but then I think I was holding up my toile in slightly the wrong place, so I actually had to take the extra length out again, so that was a bit silly. I took 2.5 centimetres off the pattern pieces at the bottom where it joined with the skirt, and I did that quite late in the process because basically when I attached the skirt to the bodice, I think it's because this fabric isn't really structured enough to be a dress like this with a structured bodice. So I think the weight of the skirt was actually pulling on the back of the dress, so it meant that the back of the dress was sort of a curve like this. So I ended up taking a strip out and reattaching the skirt again to make it straight across my waist. What else did I do? I added side slits. Now you'll see from all my prancy pictures that I'm going to put up that I added side splits, which was Alex's idea, my husband, and I just think it was genius. I added a split on each of the side seams up to sort of the knee, which makes it so nice and easy to sort of walk in and get a nice breeze through the slit. Really happy that I did that. And okay, one big error that I made. One big error that usually I would have just kind of got on with, but this time I thought no, it's worth doing my best to fix it. I didn't go the whole hog to fix it, but anyway, let me tell you, as I just mentioned, this fabric is a viscose satin, so it's very drapey, and I was trying to make a structured bodice out of it. As I said, I lined it in some more viscose, but when I eventually sort of got the dress together enough to try it on, I realised that the bodice was very rumply and sort of wavy because it just didn't have enough structure to hold the shape. I realised I really should have interfaced or interlined the bodice pieces, and what I ended up doing, I couldn't bring myself to unpick the whole bodice and start again because I'd put, you know, the lining and the outer bodice together, I'd done the straps, I'd done all the understitching, like I'd just done too much to unpick it all, but I did apply interfacing retrospectively that I ironed in, and I actually had to hand stitch it in because I knew I wanted it to be, there's obviously still a little bit of a bodge job, but I really want this garment to be one I can wear a lot, and I don't want the interfacing to all just disintegrate in the wash and come out and be floating around inside the bodice. So I hand stitched it all in place, which took quite a long time, but hopefully it now means I've got a garment that has a bit more structure. It's still not perfect, but like totally made a huge improvement by adding the interfacing. I actually only added it in the end to the, so this bodice has got princess seams, so there's a pattern piece here, a pattern piece in the middle, and a pattern piece here. I just added interfacing to the side panels on the front and on the back because I actually quite like the slight cowl neck detail that I get across the front, and also, to be honest, I couldn't get those pieces to go in nicely, so I just thought, you know what, I'll just do the side panels and the front and the back will be okay. So yeah, think carefully people, learn from my mistake. Well, you can try and make a structured garment out of a drapey fabric, but you need to interface or interline the fabric. Next time, I would interline the bodice with a more sturdy fabric. That's basically when you sew two layers of fabric together and treat them as one. So I would probably have interlined it with like a cotton lawn or something that had a bit more structure. So that's what I've learned for next time. But yeah, overall, you'll see from all the pictures I've hopefully been inserting for you that I've absolutely loved wearing this dress. I wore it to one of my really close university friends' weddings, and I also wore it for an evening in Italy. So I've worn it twice already, considering I only made it a few weeks ago. I think that's good going for such a sort of special evening, sort of dressy dress. Yeah, I absolutely love it. The final thing that I've made is the Nielsen cottesloe swimsuit. And again, I will put pictures in, but I will also hold it up to show you. It's a leopard print and it has ruffles. How adorable is that? So the Megan Nielsen cottesloe swimsuit, I'm sure you're all aware of it because it's been all over social media, but it's a really lovely swimsuit or bikini pattern, and it's got various variations with sort of low back, not so low back, high-waisted bottoms, not so high-waisted bottoms. Yeah, so it's got 2 swimsuit and 2 bikini variations. And I love it. It was such an easy sew. I was so delighted at how easy it was to sew up, because for some reason I've been terrified of swimwear. I just assumed it would be really difficult. The fabric, this fabric has been really kindly gifted to me by Minerva Crafts, because this is my very first make for the Minerva Crafts blogger network. So a full blog post will be coming, I think, towards the end of the summer, so I'll let you guys know when that's up. But yeah, the fabric is swimsuit fabric, and I lined it in some power net from Funky Fabrics. They've got all sorts of stretch fabrics on there, like ideal for swimwear and like dance wear leotards and stuff. Leopard print, and then this is what the power mesh looks like on the inside. Power mesh or power net, I think those terms are broadly interchangeable. And I've got it in the nude, which I kind of just thought would be less likely to get kind of stained by sort of sand and the sea and everything else. I just thought it might look nicer for longer than white. And I didn't want black. I don't really know why. I had black, white or nude. And as you can see, I've chosen to make the low back version, and I've also added a hack of some ruffles on the side, which are literally just some strips of fabric that I gathered together and I just stitched them on. I was going to try and conceal them within the seam a little bit more, but the fabric was quite bulky by the time that I had gathered it all up, so I just thought, you know what, I think the cleanest finish is actually going to be just to top stitch them on with a zigzag stitch. So that's exactly what I did. I also made the leg a little bit higher than the pattern. I looked at a lot of pictures online and could see that it's quite low cut, the leg of the swimsuit. I've got short legs, so a higher leg is always better for me because it makes my legs look longer. So I took about 4 centimetres, let me check. Yeah, I took 4 centimetres off at the hip. I trace off all my pattern pieces, because I like to think that if in the future I'm done with the pattern, I can then gift it to someone else. But yeah, I basically just moved the line of the, you know, of the crotch, from the crotch to the hip. I just took 4 centimetres off at the hip and adjusted that line upwards. Sizing was a bit interesting because, as usual, I was across like 3 different sizes. So I cut a size 6 but graded to a size 2 just like at the underarms, because otherwise it would have been too big across the bust. I also took a couple of centimetres off at the shoulder straps, but that was a mistake. Basically, I made the leopard print swimsuit first. The pattern has instructions for how to line it in full, which is great. So I cut out and sewed together my outer lining, put it on, and it felt a bit roomy. And I really like my swimsuits to be nice and tight, hold me in, you know, feel nice and supported. So that's why I took off some length at the straps, because it felt like it was a bit loose sort of lengthways. That was a mistake. I had not accounted for the fact that the power mesh, although it is lovely and stretchy, it's got a much like tighter stretch. It's a much thicker, firmer fabric than the outer, and so once I'd made it up in the power net and sewn it all together, it was no longer too big, because the power mesh was obviously then the least stretchy of the fabrics, so that kind of determined how big the garment ended up being. So yeah, unfortunately it is now a little bit tight everywhere, to be honest, but particularly in the length. I shouldn't have taken those. I took 2 centimetres off each strap, so that's actually 4 centimetres in total, because of the front strap and the back strap. Shouldn't have done that. So it is now a bit too tight, but I did manage to wear it on my holiday in Italy and it was comfortable enough. But I'm definitely going to be, I think I'm actually going to open it up at the crotch seam and add a panel in the crotch seam, because I think that will be more discreet than trying to open up the shoulder straps. So yeah, that was my blunder. Make sure that if you're using a lining fabric that's more stretchy than the outer fabric, that you do your adjustments and things and your size checks based on the lining fabric. So I won't be making that mistake again. I'm so pleased with it. I was a bit worried that leopard print was going to be a bit too much, but I think it's fabulous. I'm so pleased, and I think the low back kind of balances it out and makes it not too much fabric, like not too much leopard print. I would highly recommend this fabric from Minerva Crafts. They've got a few other swimwear fabrics too. I think I've seen someone do a blog post with a zebra print fabric. Now that wouldn't be quite right for my colouring, but on the right person that would be amazing. And yeah, I'm definitely going to be making more of the Nielsen cottesloes. I think next time I'll probably try the bikini, because it was just so simple to make. A big thank you to Minerva Crafts for this fabric, because I absolutely love it, and I will let you all know when the blog post is out later in the summer, and you can read all the, in much more detail about what I did and how, etc. That's it, those are my 3 makes, but any of you who saw my sewing plans video will know that I was also planning on making a kilo wrap dress out of some beautiful navy viscose linen that I have from my fabrics.co.uk.com, not sure. Yeah, unfortunately I've kind of put the brakes on that project because I was just thinking over it more and more, looking at more and more pictures of people's woven kilo dresses online, because the kilo dress is designed for knit fabrics, and it does work in woven, it really does, but I've just seen a few versions where it doesn't quite drape quite how I would like it to drape at the sides, like at the hips. And I'm really trying to avoid making things that I'm not sure if I'm going to like and that I'm not sure if I'm going to wear, because as I mentioned earlier, it's so important to me to try and be quite picky about what I make, so that I get the most wear out of the clothes that I'm making as possible. I know that we're dressmakers, we are learning, we're obviously going to make mistakes, or you're going to make something once in a while that actually doesn't suit you as much as you thought, and that's totally fine, because that's part of the fun, it's part of the learning process. But I've decided that if I'm not totally sure that I really want to make a certain garment, I'm not going to, because I don't want to risk not liking it. And actually I really like the idea of making some using that navy viscose linen to make some like culotte style trousers similar to these ones. I'll probably do the same thing again. I'll probably do a hack of the New Look 6446 jumpsuit, because I think I'll get more wear out of some summery trousers than I will out of a dress. Because having been on holiday, I was lucky enough to go to Italy. We went to Tuscany for 5 days last week and I had the most amazing time, but I realised when I was packing that I actually have quite a lot of nice summer dresses, and what I don't really have many of is summer shorts, summer trousers, because unless it's really hot, I actually really like wearing trousers. So yeah, the kilo is on hold. I do still want to make one, but I'm probably going to make it in jersey to start with. Thank you ever so much for watching. I sat down and thought, oh, this will probably only be like a 7-minute video, and I think I've chatted on for ages, so well done if you've made it to the end. But I hope you've enjoyed seeing what I've made. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more of my videos, and I'll see you next time. Bye!